If you're wanting to pass your CeMAP exams and become a mortgage advisor in your first attempt, then this video is for you, because we're going to unpack exactly how you can do just that. My name is Ash Borland, your mortgage business coach, and today I'm joined by Charlotte Hemingway from Future in Finance. She is a CeMAP coach who's helped hundreds qualify as mortgage advisors, so stick around because Charlotte's got some game-changing insights to share with us all. So Charlotte, what are the most effective study strategies that you recommend to students aiming to pass this on their first try? I'm going to put my hand out and say I failed on the first try, but what are the most effective strategies for people who are trying to pass it first time?
I also failed on my first and second try, so I know how you feel.
Oh, see, I'm better than you then. No, I'm joking.
That's fine, I'll take it. I would say to anybody who is adamant they want to pass on the first go is get support. Because my biggest barrier that I face is people don't come to me until they've sometimes failed 3, 4, maybe 5 times. And at that point, they've already thrown £1,000 at this exam and they've not been able to get past it. And then they come to me and I'll say, I absolutely can help. Here's what I offer. And they're hesitant because they've already spent £1,000. So I get why they're hesitant. So what I tend to say to people is, look, this is an investment to your future that is going to pay back tenfold if you can get it done. Put the investment in upfront and look at something first. So you can get free versions of my e-learning platform as an example, which is basically the handheld version of getting qualified in your own time. So a lot of students message and say, Charlotte, I didn't even have to look at the textbook when I passed the exam because I used your e-learning platform and it was everything that I needed. That's what it's designed for. That's option 1. It's also the most cost-effective option. There, you've got the support, so you've got the access. There's no time limit on the access, so you've got it until you're qualified. And you can also reach out to me over WhatsApp for support if there's anything you're stuck with. But the alternative is what I call a masterclass. And that is, you can come to me on Monday morning with no experience in the industry. You don't even have to have the textbook by that point if you don't want to. And by Friday evening, you will be ready to sit the exam. It's called an intense course for a reason. It is very full on. By Friday evening, you tend to be a bit sick of me, but the whole idea is I will teach you everything that you need to know. We'll work 9 till 4:30 very closely in a small group over Zoom, and we'll do some exam questions together. By Saturday or Sunday, you can sit the exam fairly confident that you're going to pass. And that course is the only course I'm aware of in the industry that comes with a 100% money back guarantee. If you're serious about getting CeMAP qualified, take that route, because you would do one fast track course for CeMAP 1 and then a second fast track course for CeMAP 2 and 3. So the idea is you could potentially be qualified over a 10-day period. But my biggest bit of advice really is invest in something early, because it is so hard with just the textbook. Remember you saying you recorded yourself reading the entire textbook?
Yes, yes, I did.
Because I'm the same as you, that's how I needed to learn as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have the time or the stuff to be able to do that. So just get it from somewhere else.
When I did my qualifications, I was self-study, I was an estate agent, I would study on the weekends, could not do it, really struggled, and in the end decided, my father was very much head of training and development within these companies, and I remember asking him, I was like, what do you think? And he was like, go and work in the corporate and they'll put you through these intensives. It was 10 days a week, 5 days, sit the exam, 2 weeks off, come back 5 days, sit the exam. Exactly that. Like, you do get them done, and they were fast, and you're very quickly up and running.
Fast track courses are great. They're a great way of doing it, but they are intense.
Are there any specific resources or tools that you find invaluable for first time takers?
Study groups for me is a massive one. There's a Facebook study group for CeMAP that's really useful. I also have a WhatsApp community that anybody can join through the website. It's 400 other people in there trying to get CeMAP qualified, and they bounce questions off each other. I go in there very little now, because somebody asks a question, somebody else wants to answer it for them, and they give people a heads up as if to say, look, I've just got CeMAP qualified. Here's all the stuff that you guys want to look out for when you're doing your studies. A study buddy is such an invaluable tool, and they don't cost anything. You can find them from anywhere. It might be you can find one with somebody that you work with. You might find one through a WhatsApp group. Those are great places to be. I think the chances of somebody getting qualified with just the textbook and no idea of what the exam papers look like is really difficult. If your primary concern is budget, get those exam papers from the LIBF platform. You can download them and go through them, and they are going to be the best way to get you prepped on a budget.
Are they free or are they paid?
No, they're £33 each, and they're 100 questions each. But you can download them from there, I also offer something really similar, which you can download. It's about 1,000 questions that you can download off the website, and it's just there to get you used to the language that you can expect to see on the day.
So you just on that point you said about the groups, the Facebook group, and I think it might be the same one. There's a CeMAP study group that I'm part of. It's got a couple of thousand people. I would say, for people listening to this, some of you will be in that group. That group is the single motivator for me to do this content. Bringing you on, we knew each other before. I think that group is very good, and it's one of those groups actually that I'm very pleasantly surprised. Facebook groups can be a cesspit, and I've been blown away by how supportive of a community that group really is, to the point where I've decided to make a whole YouTube channel arm around helping it. There is such support, love and respect for people trying to get these exams that it made me want to be part of it too. I completely agree with you on the groups. The community is a big part.
When people ask questions in there, you can't just call the London Institute of Banking and Finance and go, could you just help me with this for a little bit? There's really not many places that you can go for completely free help, where people do just want to help each other out, but that is one of them for sure.
My next question for you would be, how do you specifically help your students manage exam day nerves?
Exam day nerves are probably the biggest barrier that I see of people who are ready to sit the exam and they don't pass, because there's so many hoops that you have to jump through before you actually get into your exam. By the time people get to question 1, they are already at level 10. I've had instances of students who I know they're ready because I've had hours of phone calls with them prepping, and they just need to get it done, and they log into that system if they sit it from home and freeze. So you have the fight, flight, or the freeze response when it comes to anxiety and nerves. You either get the freezers who log in and can't do anything, or you have the guys who rush through the exam. That's probably the more common one. With CeMAP as an example, you get an hour for the first 50 questions and another hour for your second 50 questions. I want you to sit in that hour for the full time, because then you know you've done everything you can. There's a really nice little flag feature when you sit the exam. So what you can actually do is you can read a question. If you're not sure, you can hit a flag button. I say to everybody, go through the questions, all 50 of them, answer the ones you're confident with. For the ones you're not confident with, hit your little red flag button and move on. Because then you've not got the time restraint working against you. You can go back through all of your flagged questions. Even though this is a piece of work that I do with all my masterclass students, I still have students that come out and they go, Charlotte, I failed and I don't understand why. And we jump on a Zoom call and I go, do you know how long you spent in the exam? 17 minutes, Ash, is how long they spent in the whole exam. They have 2 hours. They spent 17 minutes in there. And I'm like, okay, so I've just built a course that you can now buy that is specific for those where exam anxiety is a thing. Anxiety can be a word that people throw around a lot, but for some people, exam anxiety is the single reason that they cannot get past this exam. So I've been doing some work with an exam anxiety coach. We've worked together on a piece where she helps people to tackle all of their anxious thoughts and basically gets them ready to sit CeMAP in the most comfortable state of mind. And that is a game changer, I think, for anybody that has exam anxiety. I definitely have exam anxiety. I reached out to her when I couldn't pass CeMAP, and that's how our relationship started. I decided to bring her in to do a course. She also offers one-to-ones with some of my students. If I have a masterclass and this student is struggling with anxiety, they can sit a one-to-one session with her over Zoom and she can help them. This is an instantly downloadable follow the steps that's going to be invaluable for people so they can find it and download it. If they think they have exam anxiety, have a plan in place or get some support to combat it, because otherwise you're just going to be dropping resit fee after resit fee, and it's not fair because they know the stuff. It's just the anxiety that they can't get past.
What are some of the common mistakes people make when you're coaching them, when you're training them through your masterclasses and also through all your free resources and courses? You've touched on a few of them already, but what others if you see?
At the end of my masterclasses, I do a little coaching session to say, here's all the mistakes I don't want you to make on exam day. You can either sit in a test centre or from home. A test centre is simpler in a sense of there's less things that can go wrong, but you have to still think about things like traffic and parking. I've definitely had students who've just missed their exam slot. Don't be that person. Get there early, make sure you have your ID, and sit in your exam for as long as possible. Remote exams are a whole different ballgame and can be trickier with it, but people tend to prefer it because, one, you can do it from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to worry about traffic or parking, but there's a lot of work that goes into a remote exam. So it's things that you don't think about. If you have something like Teams or TeamViewer or MSN, if you're old enough to remember what that is.
I am.
Anything like that, will interfere with your exam software, but it won't pick it up on the initial check that you do. Equally, if people are using a works laptop, you know how you can have things like TeamViewer where people can log in, remote access stuff on your laptop. You cannot sit the CeMAP exam. The initial checks that you do will not flag it as a problem. You'll sign into your exam and it will say, we're going to do some checks. You can do these checks weeks in advance, but even those checks won't pick it up. You'll be 25 minutes into your exam, MSN will do a little background update, and your exam will shut down. So I always say to people, if you're going to sit it from home, do the pre-checks at least a week before your exam, and then you've got the option to either reschedule it or find a different laptop or computer to do it from. And then make sure you disable anything that's like an instant messaging app. So Teams, MSN, Zoom tends to be fine. Any firewalls you need to disable before you go in. Make sure you have your ID and make sure you have a stable internet connection. And the last and most important one is make sure you have a quiet workspace. If you have a house full of children and dogs or noisy neighbours, don't sit your exam there because it will interfere with it, and the invigilator can actually come in and tell you that there's too much background noise and they can basically fail you. So I've had students in the past who've been failed by their invigilator for really small discrepancies. If they've been working in an office at a weekend and there's been building work going on, they can say, actually, your environment's too noisy. We can't figure out that there's nothing going on.
See, I didn't know any of that. That's mad. When I did mine, I did it all in the exam centre. That sounds like a lot of work. And on top of that, do you have any signature tip that you're like, everybody, there's so many stuff we've done the whole episode of videos about this. Do you have that one that you do to go to all the time?
Yes. So if you do not do anything else in your exam, I just want everybody to follow the steps of, you read the question, you take a really big breath, and you read the question again. Once you've done that, the steps are going to be eliminate the answers you know are wrong. So with most of these options, there's 2 that are definitely wrong, which you can remove, and then there'll be 2 that are pretty similar. So if you can remove the 2 wrong answers, even if you guess with the next 2, you've still got a 50% chance of getting it right. The reason that I tell people to take the breath in particular is because when you sit an exam and you're really nervous, you hold your breath and you don't realize that you're holding your breath. But what happens is your brain goes, I can't breathe. There's something wrong. I need to get out of this. And people rush and make silly mistakes and don't read the question properly. Whereas if you can regulate your breathing, you can understand the question better because you've got more oxygen going through your system. I know for a fact that 90% of people, when they go in that exam, they come out sweaty and their palms are soaking and they feel out of breath and like they've run a marathon, and it's because they've not been breathing through it. So if you can breathe through your exam questions, that is the biggest tip I'll give anybody.
If you want a more detailed breakdown of what is in the CeMAP exams all across the board, then check out this video where Charlotte breaks down each module and talks about some of the pitfalls you can face and study techniques that you could use for each one.